Yes, the webinar is being recorded. This is to allow for other staff members to refer to it afterwards and also share with colleagues who are unable to attend. First resource we're going to look at is QualHub, and we'll start with an overview, but before that, I'd like to ascertain your starting points. We'll do that with a quick poll. The question I'd like you to answer relates to using QualHub. How familiar are you with it? So I've launched that poll. Please choose the answer from the following. I'm very familiar, I'm using it regularly. I'm somewhat familiar, I use it from time to time. I know a little and might know what's there, or I know nothing about it. If you could please choose the most appropriate answer, this will help us to adapt today's session accordingly. I'll leave the poll open for the next 30 seconds or so, so please let me know your level of familiarity with our online platform. And thank you. 53% of you have voted already, so that's wonderful. If you could just choose the most appropriate answer for yourself, please. Just give you a few more seconds for that. Many thanks to those who've already chosen their answer. If you haven't already, please vote on your answer for this poll question. Right, I'm going to close the poll shortly. If you haven't already, please answer. I want to give everybody the chance to let me know where they're at. Okay, I'm going to close that and share the results. So as you can see, quite a few people are in the second category. They're somewhat familiar, so that's excellent. Some people use it regularly, and some people use it a little. Some people not so sure about it. That's wonderful. Thank you. We can tailor our session as much as we're able to from now. Many thanks for that. That's really helpful. Okay, I'm going to start with the NCFE website. And if you've not visited it before, you can see on the screen the website address and the home page. The highlighted area, the red star that's appearing on the screen now, the login link takes you to the members login area. Your customer service team can arrange for you to have a login if you don't already have one. This takes you to the QualHub login. I'm going to show you the first qualifications section. If you click here and enter, there's a qualification section, sorry. If you click here and enter T-Levels and Education Childcare, the section for the Education and Childcare T-Level area is clearly visible there. If I then click on the qual title, it takes me to this page for the Education and Childcare information and resources. Before we look at the detail in that section, I just want to run through the resources available here, some of which I've already shared with you, and you can also find them in the material section of the control panel. I attach the qual spec, the assessment key dates, and the FAQs. And if you haven't had the opportunity to look at these yet, you'll find them accessible after this webinar too. They should provide a useful starting point for planning, teaching and learning and assessment activities, and can also be used during the meetings in your centre curriculum consultations, which I'll explain later in the session. The links you can see on the screen now will take you directly to the NCFE website. The first link will take you to the general overview of T-Levels, including what's running and what's coming. The second link takes you to the login of the members area, which I showed you on the previous slide. I'll use this link now to show you the process of logging in and using QualHub. Right, if I click on this link, if I scroll down, you'll see an overview of the qualification with the GLH and the TQT, UCAS and performance points, and how the qualification is structured and assessed. At the bottom of this page, you'll find the support and teaching materials. In the support section, you'll find the qual spec, the core exams, specimen papers and mark schemes, examples of employer set projects, sample specialist assignments and mark schemes, and some very useful exemplification materials. In the teaching materials section, you'll find a number of free to access resources, including schemes of work for the core elements. These have been put into 5 themes, and the details regarding which assessment each theme relates to is clearly stated. That's explaining if they're covered in paper A or paper B. The tutor guides and activity packs for the occupational specialisms, and there are also a range of additional core resources here which are chargeable. Moving back to the top of the page, you can see the headings along the top. Starting with delivery and learner support, you'll find the generic and functional skills information, exam admin, online assessment, direct claim status, sample certificates, and FAQs. If I go back to support, visits, training and events, and then scroll down to events, you've probably already seen this page because of enrolling on this webinar, the induction webinar, which is where we are right here on the 8th of September. You also have the opportunity for you to get involved in our resource development with co-creation activities. Please get in touch with us if you think you'd be interested in this. You would also access the policies and documents section for generic resources, policies and procedures related to our qualifications. Okay, so that's an overview of QualHub. If you have any questions related to it, please get in touch with us or add questions in the chat log. We'll now move on to the assessment for the Education Childcare T-Level in more detail. We're going to start this section with another participation activity, so I'm going to launch a quick quiz to establish existing knowledge. Please answer each of the questions shown on the next screen, and then we'll review the answers. So I'm going to give you a few minutes just to answer these multi-choice questions. Janet, would you like to say hello while people are doing that?
Thanks, Helen.
Sorry, I've just unmuted you, Janet. I think you were on mute.
Sorry, there we go. Okay, thanks, Helen, and good afternoon, everybody. Looking forward to the session, Helen. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. So if you're just arriving late, hello and welcome. We're just running the T-Level quiz at the moment. So if you could have a look at that quiz and answer the questions, that would be great. And 24% of you have submitted their answers so far. That's wonderful. If you could just keep working your way through those questions. None of them are intended to trip you up or anything. It's just a case of finding out what you know already. And we're nearly at halfway, 47% now. Just trying to bring in some maths here so that we can say that we're embedding developing skills. And we'll just give it another minute or so for people to answer the quiz questions. If you're arriving late, welcome. There is a mini quiz that's just been launched. If you could have a look at the questions and have a go at the answers, please, that would be wonderful. Oh, it's 71% submitted now. And just another 15-20 seconds or so if you're still having a go at that quiz. Just have a guess if any of the questions are not easy. And just a little bit longer, then we'll review the answers. Just going to remind everyone to put any questions in the chat box on the bottom right-hand corner there of your screen. It's on the bottom of the control panel. So as I say, if you have any questions that we don't get round to, please, or that we don't cover, please pop them in the chat box in case there's anything that you would like to know or see. Okay, we'll be closing that quiz shortly. We've got 76% of people answered, so that's quite high. That's excellent. Thank you so much for those who have. A few more seconds and then I'm going to close it. Okay, I'm closing that poll now and we'll put the results up. So first question, 85% correct, well done. Yes, it's the Sainsbury review that the recommendations for T-levels came from. The design and the content for T-levels is actually created by the employer panels, not us, not the Association of Colleges, and obviously not the Gatsby Foundation. So the content was given to us by the employers, and then we've created the qualifications from that content. So yes, one of the assessments on the T-level is an employer set project. Well done, 100% correct. If a student does not achieve a full T-level, they will get a statement of achievement. That's correct. They won't get a full T-level certificate from the institute. They'll get a statement of achievement, and those were covered in Introduction to T-levels and what is a T-level. So if you've got any questions on that, please get to us. So yes, T-levels are equivalent to 3 A-levels. So that's quite hefty and quite rigorous. So that's why they are so broad and have a lot of depth. If students don't complete their work placement but pass the TQ, they will still attract UCAS points. That's false. They have to complete all components of the T-level to get the UCAS points. A T-level in industry placement is a minimum of 315 hours, and we could possibly talk hours at some point today because of the recent announcement from the DFE and IFEAT. Question 8, the exit requirement for Maths and English for SEND learners is entry level 3. It's level 2 for all other learners, but for SEND learners, so if they have a statement of special educational needs or disability, they have flexibility here in that it's entry level 3 for their Maths and English exit requirement. The T-level occupational specialism is awarded an ungraded pass, merit and distinction. Yes, that's exactly how they are graded. And the final question, the core assessment is made of 2 externally set exams and the employer set project. So it's a mixture of the projects, and it's externally set and marked for all of those. Right, thanks for that. That gives me a little bit of information about where to go from here and how much depth to go into for the remainder. I'm just going to check the chat box a second because I think I saw something pop in there. I'm just going to check first of all with Rachel. Rachel, can you see and hear everything now? Is that okay? You might have come in the middle of the poll, which is why you had a blank screen. Liz, yes, there's been an announcement regarding placements. Janet, would you like to quickly jump in and give that announcement or share it for us, please?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, the absolute wording I can make sure you get so that you've got the actual announcement, Helen, and you can share that you know, after the session.
Yes.
But basically, what the institute has done is agree some flexibility during these difficult times. We all know how challenging placement has been and continues to be for students, and the IFATE are very aware of that. Nobody wants to disadvantage any students or to demotivate them when they're having this flavour of this career and this vocation for potentially the first time, if they haven't been on a level 2 programme especially as well. So to cut to the chase, what's happened is that there was a recommendation of 750, or rather a requirement of 750, and the wording has been amended so that centres are expected to plan for the 750, but they are given the opportunity now with the flex to be able to reach a minimum, and the minimum is around the 415 hours, with the extra additional flex of 100 hours to sort of can be allocated to guided learning hours. So that would be some preparation time, where they're with a tutor or an assessor, and indeed incorporating any observation and assessment. So there is a great deal of flexibility. It is much more clearer and much more manageable during these difficult times, but I will make sure that you get sight of the actual statement that confirms that in writing, so I'm sure that will be reassuring. Thanks,
Yes,
Helen.
That's great. Thanks a lot, Janet. Probably a link to where the announcement is housed would be useful.
Yes, absolutely, no problem. I'll send that across.
Wonderful. I mean, if you can share it today, but in the text in the chat box, it'll speed things up a bit. So
Okay, I'll do my best.
Do that first while I'm talking through these next few slides. That'd be great. Thanks. So this slide provides an overview of the T-level qual. I'm not going into a lot of detail because it's something everyone's probably seen before. I'll refer to the technical qualification as the TQ from this point forward. The left-hand top box covers the knowledge and understanding. That's where it's assessed with the 2 written exams and the employer set project. The right-hand box relate to the knowledge, skills and behaviours required for the role, and these are assessed via the occupational specialism assignments. At the bottom of the slide, you'll see the other requirements for the T-level. These include the industry placement, the Maths and English exit requirements, and any other additional qualifications or professional body memberships. Each T-level has stated hours for the placement, which we'll look at again possibly shortly. The Maths and English, there's a different requirement for SEN students, which you can see here is entry level 3 at the bottom middle box. Remember, it's an exit requirement, not entry. Students who have already achieved the level 2 qual have already met this if they've got a grade 4 or above at GCSE. If they do not hold this, they will be required to achieve it by the end of their course, or they will not gain the full T-level qual. It's important to assess starting levels and skills and plan development of them during the programme, and NCFEs have a wide range of support and resources to help centres with this. Skills Forward is a tool which you could consider using. It's an e-learning assessment and skills development platform which is used by colleges, training providers and employers to assess skills and track student progress. The platform enables employers to digitally capture evidence of a student's skills, knowledge and occupational competency, and supports their further skills development with high quality resources and tailored development programmes. Skills Forward is a not-for-profit company and part of the NCFA group. Their core purpose is to promote and advance learning, and if you're interested in the platform, please ask your account executive about their products and services. These include diagnostic assessment and bespoke online teaching and learning resources. To complete this slide, the Education T-Level has no further qualifications or requirements for professional registration required to complete the programme. Although, Janet, have you any extra information I can add there?
I don't think so, Helen. At this stage, I think that covers most of the things, and that will make sense really to a full study programme as we know it, really. So not at this stage. Thank you.
Excellent. Thanks a lot, Janet. That's great. So this slide shows the assessment format for all T-levels. The core component assesses the knowledge and understanding, uses exams and the employer set projects as the assessment tool, and these are graded A* to E. These take up 20 to 50% of the total qualification time. The occupational specialism focuses on students' knowledge and skills, are graded as pass merit distinction, and take up the remainder of the 50 to 80% of the TQT. Focusing on education and childcare, how this is structured can be seen on this slide. The table is taken directly from the qual spec, and the GLH are clearly stated for each element of the TQ. The GLH for delivery and assessment can be seen here, as well as the placement hours. The occupational specialisms for this route have different set hours. These can be seen at the bottom of this table and should be kept in mind when planning your curriculum. Janet, I've noticed that you've put all the information there in the chat box. If I get the chance and if people want me to, I'll put it onto the final slide if need be.
Thank you. I wasn't able to put a direct link, unfortunately. I think it's gone to Wave 1 providers, that message. I don't know if it's on the IFATE website, but that is the message that's been agreed.
Wonderful. Okay, thank you. This slide shows the elements of the TQ core. The 12 elements of the core have been grouped into the 5 themes I mentioned earlier. These are assessed via 2 separate written exams, and for the employer set project section, these are contextualized projects. For the resources available to support delivery, the 5 themes are structured as follows. 2 themes are designed to run throughout the academic year, and a further 1 for each term. I would encourage you to review them and adapt them to meet your organisational and student needs. I know that some centres have decided to make all of the themes run throughout the year rather than starting and stopping them. The 2 occupational specialism components are shown on this slide. The content for each can be seen here, and the students will complete practical assignments and be observed at work for the summative assessment activities for this part of the TQ. There is support and training for the assessors in relation to these observations. If anyone's interested in those, I can signpost you to where that training is. The next slide provides an overview of the first part of the core summative assessment activity. You can see here that the content of paper A covers the elements 1 to 6. The paper is made up of a range of question types. This includes multiple choice, short and extended answer questions. The marks awarded for this paper are on this table. It's also worth noting that additional marks are awarded for the quality of the written communication. This is where continued development of the students' English skills will be important. For paper B, we can see on this slide that elements of 7 to 12 are assessed in this exam. As was shown in the previous slide for paper A, you can see how the questions are structured and how the marks are awarded. Again, additional marks are awarded for the quality of communication. The 2 papers cover 100% of the core knowledge and understanding. The final core assessment is the Employer Set Project, or ESP. The ESP covers all 12 elements and also the 4 core skills, which can be seen in this table. Employers have been involved in the production of the project tasks. This is to ensure that they are relevant to industry needs and requirements. It might be worth mentioning here that the industry placement employers are not involved in the production of assessment of these projects. They've been designed by NCFA in conjunction with our industry partners. In the right-hand column, you can see that what the students must do to demonstrate their skills and competencies, and the importance of maths, English and digital skills is also included here. This next slide shows the scoring for each of the core elements. Assessments may vary slightly in levels of difficulty, and therefore the mark that represented a C grade in the external examination in one assessment window may not be appropriate in the following assessment window. To address this, NCFE will convert raw marks to uniform marks. The Uniform Marks Scale, or UMS, also allows us to take into account the relative weighting of the assessment to the qualification as a whole, the maximum UMS points available for each assessment, and the UMS points relating to each assessment grade boundary are fixed. These are shown in the table on this slide. This next slide shows the summative assessment methods and weightings for the occupational specialisms. The assignments are set and marked by NCFE, and the observations which are required for both specialisms will be assessed by an internal centre assessor. There will therefore be moderation, standardisation and internal quality assurance processes to follow for these, with support from an external quality assurer. More guidance from the QA team in relation to moderation and grading is being developed and will follow. In order to achieve a grade for the core component, students must have results for both subcomponents, the core written exam and the employer set project. The combined results from these subcomponents will be aggregated to form the overall core component grades A* to E and U. The student is also required to successfully achieve a distinction, merit or pass grade in one of the occupational specialism components. If the student fails to reach the specified level of attainment, they will receive a U grade. This table shows how the core component grade and occupational specialism grade are combined to give the overall T-level grade. So what are the key dates for assessment in the education and childcare route? This first table shows a timeline for the assisting teaching specialism. This provides us with an overview of the two-year programme and when the key dates are, starting in September 2020 and ending in August 2022. The exams and employer set project dates for the core have months identified on this table, and I'll be more specific with the actual dates in a moment. You'll be able to see that the dates for results publication also on this row. For the occupational specialisms, you will also see the dates for assessment for these, and they run either throughout the programme or come at the end of year 2. This table shows the same information as the last slide, but this time for the early years educator specialism. For this specialism, the placement hours are much higher, and this is because it gives students an in-ratio licence to practice at level 3 in the early years workforce, in line with the statutory framework. Right, this is going to be a summary of the information for the T-level in education and childcare key dates. Firstly, they are the registration dates. Centres will have until the 1st November to register the students, and as the occupational specialism is part of this, it would be recommended that staff use the initial assessment and induction period really wisely to ensure that the right student is on the right course. The next set of dates relate to the entries for the core exams, and you can see that this is the 19th of April 2021 for standard entries and the 26th of April 2021 for late entries. The final set of dates are for the core exams and employer set project, with paper A taking place at 9 AM on the 11th of June, paper B on the 17th of June at 9 AM, and the ESP window is from the 4th to the 21st of May 2021. There'll be 2 opportunities per year for students to complete the core examinations. These will be the summer in May and June and autumn in November and December. So for example, a student may complete their first attempt in the summer 2021 series and then resit again in either autumn 2021 or summer 2022. There'll be 1 opportunity per year for students to complete the occupational specialism assignments starting in 2022. These will be scheduled in each summer, and if a student wishes to resit, they will be required to resit the following year. There are no limit to the number of resits a student is permitted for this qualification. The next important points to cover are the other important factors related to assessment, such as appeals, requesting adjustments, and special considerations. You'll find the information and documentation needed for these on QualHub in the policies and documents section I showed earlier. At the top, you'll find the mandatory policies and fees, assessment regulations, and support guides. Scrolling down on this page, you'll find the folder with all the forms you'll need in relation to appeals, certification, and requests for adjustments and special considerations. This next table is taken directly from the Access Arrangements and Reasonable Adjustments policy. You can see that if a reader or scribe is required, the assessment team need at least 10 days notice. And for this and all the following timelines, it would be prior to the published assessment date or window. For enlarged or colour papers or non-interactive papers for use with computer reading or speech recognition software, it's a minimum of 15 days notice. And finally, for conversion to Braille, production of tactile diagrams or modified language papers, it's at least 30 days notice. The forms which need to be submitted can be found in the Forms folder at the top of that page too. We're going to move into the support that NCFE can provide to centres who are delivering and assessing our T-level qualifications. But before I do that, can I please remind everyone to ask any questions they have in the chat box. We'll have some time at the end of the session to review what's been asked, so please let us know if you have any questions which haven't been addressed during the session. Also, if you'd like any clarification of anything we've said today, please let us know. So this image represents the curriculum team offer. Centres will start at pre-approval at the left-hand side of this image. Once approved, we start with the induction onboarding process, and this session today takes place at this stage. After this session, you'll move into the teaching and learning, working with your students and preparing them for the assessment stage. In the lead up to that assessment stage, we can help support you in the pre-assessment stage with signposting to sample papers, revision techniques, appropriate resources, and formative assessment strategies. Once your students have completed their summative assessments, the curriculum team will support you to review the results and plan further teaching and learning activities. This whole onboarding process takes around 12 months, and we're here to support you to develop your teaching and learning practice in relation to the needs of the T-level qualification and your students. Throughout the onboarding process, there are 3 checkpoints for curriculum consultations. Some of you will already have started this process, and most centres have had their first appointment already booked in. You can see these checkpoints represented at the bottom of the screen, and I'll talk about these in more depth shortly. Once the 12 months onboarding process is complete, centres moved into the CPD stage, where you'll be supported to continue developing your knowledge, skills and understanding of the T-level qualifications. We also have a range of activities designed to support centres to successfully deliver the T-level qualifications and to promote the development of teaching, learning, assessment. We've already started our CPD sessions, so they are in delivery. Some of you may have already started some CPD activity with us. As centres, you're able to access this training and development right now, and I'll talk about this shortly. I deliver curriculum consultations at specific points through the year. These are with centre staff on a one-to-one bespoke basis, and they adopt a collaborative approach. Their purpose is to discuss progress, identify any risks and strategies to overcome them, explore next steps moving forward, and help with action planning. These are very much a two-way process, and as I previously said, have already begun with some of the centres. If I'm unable to answer any questions, I will forward them on to the relevant NCFE staff and ensure that centres obtain the information they need. I will also be able to signpost staff to useful resources and act as a centre advocate. Checkpoint webinars, this being the first one of a series of 3. These are open to all centres and are strategically timed to fit in with T-level delivery. The second is at the end of the first term and review progress in teaching and learning to date. The final one will explore readiness for the first set of final core assessments. Finally, we also have a range of online learning and CPD activities. These are in production and will become available via the NCFE website throughout the year. Your key T-level contacts are shown on this screen. Curriculum officer, that's my role. I focus on delivery, staff training and development, and the activities I'm involved in are face-to-face and virtual training events, information providing webinars and curriculum consultations, which I've already mentioned. The business account managers are your first port of call for new business and development, pricing and resourcing queries. And finally, the customer support team are there for first line inquiries, accessing the portal and registering students, etc. I'll leave that up just for a second in case any of that information you want to note down. Okay, moving on. Finally, this slide provides an overview of our CPD offer for 2021. The first list shows what we have planned as CPD for the first term in the academic year. We're currently delivering the planning linear T-level sessions, and the remainder of the sessions are running between September and December. Places on these are limited to ensure that the numbers allow for active participation and collaborative activities. As these sessions fill up, we're offering further dates, and we plan to ensure that every centre has the opportunity for a staff member to attend and disseminate. All sessions are also recorded and made available to all centres after the event has taken place. In this right-hand column, you can see what we have in development for the remainder of the academic year. Please let us know if there are any other topics or CPD sessions you'd like us to put on and develop an offer. We'd like to provide the opportunity for all centres to input on our CPD and support offer, so please let us know. You could do this by entering ideas in the chat box or via the session evaluation as you leave the session today. The link to the booking page is also at the bottom of the screen of information here. In terms of other self-service support, please check for updates and information on the website, and the address can be seen on this slide. You can also email our dedicated support email address. We now have some time for some question and answer. I'll review what's already in the chat box, and Janet and I will answer what we can and take away anything we're unable to answer today. Looks like we've had no new questions coming in. I'll add this, I'm going to add this announcement that Janet shared with us earlier into the communication after the session. I'm going to just ask, has anybody got any questions or anything at all that we haven't covered that you have queries about? Janet, have I missed anything subject specific wise? Would there anything else that you could share or not?
Yeah, no, I'd be glad to, Helen. Thank you. I don't think you've missed anything subject specific wise at all. I just think I'd like to offer a little bit of reassurance really about where we are and about the fact that we are in a new sort of era in terms, well, in all kinds of ways, to be honest, but with that, with the technical qualifications and the T-level being the pioneer of that. And I think sometimes, you know, that we could focus on the changes. We could think about what's different. I just want to say that probably one of the greatest things here in relation to the changes is around assessment and how that assessment works in terms of the synoptic, you know, the move away from an assignment that's taught and then assessed, and that tutors may typically contribute a grade towards the final outcome, and there's an element of reassurance in that, you know, and I completely understand that. I think that there should be some reassurance and take some reassurance from the fact that the questions that are actually being asked on exam papers and through the employer set project will include a range of different types of questions, and I know you did mention this, Helen, in your presentation. There will be some multi-choice type questions. There will be questions that allow students to show, you know, a little bit more breadth and depth in terms of explaining, describing, and analysing and evaluating. But within those sort of higher level thinking questions, there will be opportunity for students to gain some marks, you know, if they are identifying within their longer questions, for example. So to find some reassurance that actually the way, if you've been teaching early years in childcare before, the students that walk through those doors are not going to be any different moving forward. The specialist information that you have as assessors and tutors is going to be what is required. As with anything, you know, there may be some areas that you require some further information on, some CPD, some further, knowledge around inclusions that weren't in a previous specification, and we're here to help you with that, and that's what we're here to do. As Helen has said, I think find the familiarity, and that is you're teaching early years and childcare, you're preparing students for the world of work in the way that you ever did, for higher education study in the way that you always have. You do that, and you do that successfully. So what you are now is actually supporting and contributing to a pioneering development in technical education, and one that really sets out to even the playing field, valuing the skills and the experiences of those students.
Janet, Janet, the audio seems to be coming and going a little bit. We just missed that last bit at the end there.
Okay, sorry, it was just the finale, just really to say, I'll sum it up quickly. If the audio is not good, I won't sort of labour the point, but it was just really to say, take some reassurances from the familiarity. You're the expert, the assessors and the tutors are the experts. That wealth of experience is what is required to deliver these qualifications. We're here to help you with any changes in structure, organisation and so on. Being on this side of an assessment process when you haven't had learners go through it successfully is always a little bit daunting, but be assured that we're here to help you, that there is a breadth of different questioning and types of questioning to support all learners at the stage that they are at. So, and to thank everybody for being part of this pioneering approach for vocational education. Sincerely mean that. Thanks, Helen.
Lovely, thanks a lot, Janet. So moving on, I'm just going to finish off with this close. Just a reminder that the session is being recorded and the link will be made available to you all in due course. Questions that pop up still or anything that hasn't been answered in the webinar will be rolled up and circulated. An evaluation will be deployed on completion of this webinar, and I please ask you to complete it if you can, please. It should only take another minute or two. And obviously there's the email address. Any inquiries to tlevelsupport@ncfe.org.uk. We hope that you found the webinar helpful. Thank you very much for your time. Stay safe from everyone at NCFE. We'll keep the chat box open just for a little while longer in case there are any leaving questions, but thank you, and please complete the evaluation at the end.
Thank you, Helen.
Thanks, Janet. If you just hang about a little while in case there are any other questions that your specialist knowledge can answer.
Absolutely, no problem. Thank you everyone for joining us too at this very busy time. Really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Oh, John, there is a question come in. Are there any plans to complete some of the? Are there any plans to complete some of the placement hours by case study or simulation if COVID does not allow the newly agreed 415 hours? Is the question that's come in from Rachel.
Okay, hi Rachel. It's a good question. There will be some form of adaptation, but the placement requirements and that sort of minimum requirement of placement hours is something that the IFATE have agreed on. In terms of meeting the competencies, there's going to be, there may be some adaptations in terms of the early years educator, especially, and what you can see and how you get to see it. But the requirement of the hours is the latest information with regards to the technical T-level qualification, which has been reduced significantly. But I do absolutely appreciate the situation as we have it, and it's an ever-changing situation. So Rachel, if things do alter, if things become local lockdown, there may have to be considerations for regions and so on. And this is something that I think we never say never. If we have to go back with the IFATE, then we will share challenges, etc. But what we have at the moment is the agreed statement. But that doesn't mean to say that we can't go back and we can't share how students are managing in these challenging times. It might also be useful to know that there's a placement page now on the CASH website that does have it's got a placement program, it's got some activities and things for students to do that just prepares them for placement. And this can be used across all of our early years and childcare qualifications. And there's also a sort of one for supporting teaching and learning, and also for health and social care. So there's something there that would occupy students, whether they're first year or whether they're second years, in terms of placement readiness and preparation. But in terms of the hours, obviously we will watch the space and we will feed back any challenges. But at the moment, that's the statement that's being followed.
Lovely, thanks a lot, Janet. Just have a quick check to see if there are any others. No, there don't seem to be. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to end the training now. Thank you to everybody who attended, asked questions, and thank you for your participation in the poll and the quiz. As I said, please stay safe for everybody at NCFE. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a good evening, everyone.
Thank you, Janet.